children of Lear. Now at the time when the two-headed Danann chose a king for themselves, after the battle of Chalchin, and Lear heard the kingship was given to Boab Jarrig, it did not please him, and he left the gathering without leave, and with no word to anyone, for he thought it was he himself had a right to be made king. But if he went away himself, Boab was given the kingship nonetheless, for not one of the five begrudged it to him, but only Lear. And it is what they determined to follow after Lear, and to burn down his house, and to attack himself with spear and sword, on account of his not giving obedience to the king they had chosen. "We will not do that," said Boab Jarrig, "for that man would defend any place he's in, and besides that," he said, "I am nonetheless king over the two-headed Danann, although he does not submit to me." All went on like that for a good while, but at last a great misfortune came on Lear, for his wife died from him after a sickness of 3 nights, and that came very hard on Lear, and there was heaviness on his mind after her, and there was great talk of the death of that woman in her own time. And the news of it was told all through Ireland, and it came to the house of Boab, and the best of the men of Jah were with him at the time. And Boab said, "If Lear had a mind for it, my help and my friendship would be good for him now, since his wife is not living to him. For I have here with me the 3 young girls of the best shape and the best appearance and the best name in all Ireland, Ev, Aoife and Alva, the 3 daughters of Aiel of Aaron, my own 3 nurslings." The men of Jah said then it was a good thought he had, and that what he said was true. Messages and messengers were sent then from Boab Jarrig to the place where Lear was, to say that if he had a mind to join with the son of the Dagda, and to acknowledge his lordship, he would give him a foster child of his foster children. And Lear thought well of the offer, and he set out on the morrow with 50 chariots from Shí Fiannacha, and he went by every short way till he came to Boab's dwelling place at Loch Jarrig. And there was a welcome before him there, and all the people were merry and pleasant before him, and he and his people got good attendance that night. And the 3 daughters of Aiel of Aaron were sitting on the one seat with Boab Jarrig's wife, the queen of the two-headed Danann, that was their foster mother. And Boab said, "You may have your choice of the 3 young girls, Lear." "I cannot say," said Lear, "which one of them is my choice, but whichever of them is the eldest, she is the noblest, and it is best for me to take her." "If that is so," said Boab, "it's Ev is the eldest, and she will be given to you, if it is your wish." "It is my wish," he said, and he took Ev for his wife that night, and he stopped there for a fortnight, and then he brought her away to his own house, till he would make a great wedding feast. And in the course of the time, Ev brought forth 2 children, a daughter and a son. Fionnuala and Ea their names were. And after a while she was brought to bed again, and this time she gave birth to 2 sons, and they called them Fiachra and Con. And she herself died at their birth, and that weighed very heavy on Lear, and only for the way his mind was set on his 4 children he would have gone near to die of grief. The news came to Boab Jarrig's place, and all the people gave out 3 loud high cries, keening their nursling. And after they had keened her, it is what Boab Jarrig said, "It is a fret to us, our daughter to have died, for her own sake and for the sake of the good man we gave her to, for we are thankful for his friendship and his faithfulness. However," he said, "our friendship with another will not be broken, for I will give him for a wife her sister Aoife." When Lear heard that, he came for the girl and married her and brought her home to his house. There was honour and affection with Aoife for her sister's children, and indeed no person at all could see those 4 children without giving them their heart's love. And Bowjarrig used often to be going to Lear's house for the sake of those children, and he used to bring them to his own place for a good length of time, and then he would let them go back to their own place again. And the men of Jah were at that time using the Feast of Age in every hill of the She in turn, and when they came to Lear's hill, those 4 children were their joy and delight, for the beauty of their appearance, and it is where they used to sleep in beds in sight of their father Lear, and he used to rise up at the break of every morning and to lie down among his children. But it is what came of all this that a fire of jealousy was kindled in Aoife, and she got to have a dislike and a hatred of her sister's children. Then she let on to have a sickness that lasted through nearly the length of a year, and at the end of that time she did a deed of jealousy and cruel treachery against the children of Lear. And one day she got her chariot yoked, and she took the 4 children in it, and they went forward towards the house of Bowjarrig. But Fionnuala had no mind to go with her, for she knew by her she had some plan for their death or their destruction, and she had seen in a dream that there was treachery against them in Aoife's mind. But all the same, she was not able to escape from what was before her. And when they were on their way, Aoife said to her people, "Let you kill now," she said, "the 4 children of Lear, for whose sake their father has given up my love, and I will give you your own choice of reward out of all the good things of the world." "We will not do that, indeed," said they. "It is a bad deed you have thought of, and harm will come to you out of it." And when they would not do as she bade them, she took out a sword herself to put an end to the children with. But she being a woman, and with no good courage, and with no great strength in her mind, she was not able to do it. They went on then west to Loch Jarlavrach, the lake of the oaks, and the horses were stopped there. And Aoife bade the children of Lear to go out and bathe in the lake, and they did as she bade them. And as soon as Aoife saw them out in the lake, she struck them with a druid rod, and put on them the shape of 4 swans, white and beautiful. And it is what she said, "Out with you, children of the king, your luck is taken away from you forever. It is sorrowful the story will be to your friends. It is with flocks of birds your cries will be heard forever." And Fionnuala said, "Witch, we know now what your name is. You have struck us down with no hope of relief, but although you put us from wave to wave, there are times when we will touch the land. We shall get help when we are seen, help and all that is best for us, even though we have to sleep upon the lake. It is our minds will be going abroad early." And then the 4 children of Lear turned towards Aoife, and it is what Fionnuala said, "It is a bad deed you have done, Aoife, and it is a bad fulfilling of friendship, you to destroy us without cause. And vengeance for it will come to you, and you will fall in satisfaction for it. For your power for our destruction is not greater than the power of our friends to avenge it on you. And put some bounds now," she said, "to the time this enchantment is to stop on us. And it is worse for you to have asked it of me. And the bounds I set to your time are this, till the woman from the south and the man from the north will come together. And since you ask to hear it of me," she said, "no friends and no power that you have will be able to bring you out of these shapes you are in through the length of your lives, until you have seen 300 years on Loch Jarlavrach, and 300 years on Shurnuela between Ireland and Alban, and 300 years at Irisdomnan and Inishglura. And these are to be your journeys from this out," she said. But then repentance came on Aoife, and she said, "Since there is no other help for me to give you now, you may keep your own speech, and you will be singing sweet music of the She that will put the men of the earth to sleep, and there will be no music in the world to equal to it. And your own sense and your own nobility will stay with you, the way it will not weigh so heavy on you to be in the shape of birds. And go away out of my sight now, children of Lir, she said, with your white faces, with your stammering Irish. It is a great curse on tender lads, they to be driven out on the rough wind. 900 years to be on the water. It is a long time for anyone to be in pain. It is I put this on you through treachery. It is best for you to do as I tell you now. Lir, that got victory with so many a good cast, his heart is a kernel of death in him now. The groaning of the great hero is a sickness to me, though it is I that have well earned his anger. Then the horses were caught for Aoife, and the chariot yoked for her, and she went on to the palace of Baobjarrig. And there was welcome before her from the chief people of the place. And the son of the Dagda asked her why she did not bring the children of Lir with her. I will tell you that, she said. It is because Lir has no liking for you, and he will not trust you with his children, for fear you might keep them from him altogether. I wonder at that, said Baobjarrig, for those children are dearer to me than my own children. And he thought in his own mind, it was deceit the woman was doing on him. And it was what he did. He sent messengers to the north, to Shi Fiachi. And Lir asked them, what did they come for? On the head of your children, said they. Are they not gone to you along with Aoife? He said. They are not, said they. And Aoife said it was yourself who would not let them come. It is downhearted and sorrowful Lir was at that news, for he understood well it was Aoife had destroyed or made an end of his children. And early in the morning of the morrow, his horses were caught, and he set out on the road to the southwest. And when he was as far as the shore of Loch Jararach, the 4 children saw the horses coming towards them. And it is what Fionnuala said, a welcome to the troop of horses I see coming near to the lake. The people they are bringing are strong. There is sadness on them. It is us they are following. It is for us they are looking. Let us move over to the shore, Fiacre and Comely Con. Those that are coming can be no others in the world but only Lir and his household. Then Lir came to the edge of the lake, and he took notice of the swans having the voice of living people, and he asked them why it was that they had that voice. I'll tell you that, Lir, said Fionnuala. We are your own 4 children that are after being destroyed by your wife and by the sister of our own mother, through the dint of her jealousy. Is there any way to put you into your own shapes again? Said Lir. There is no way, said Fionnuala, for all the men of the world could not help us till we have gone through our time, and that will not be, she said, till the end of 900 years. When Lir and his people heard that, they gave out 3 great heavy shouts of grief and sorrow and crying. Is there a mind with you, said Lir, to come to us on the land, since you have your own sense and your memory yet? We have not the power, said Fionnuala, to live with any person at all from this time. But we have our own language, the Irish, and we have the power to sing sweet music, and it is enough to satisfy the whole race of men to be listening to that music. And let you stop here tonight, she said, and we will be making music for you. So Lir and his people stopped there, listening to the music of the swans, and they slept there quietly that night. And Lir rose up early on the morning of the morrow, and he made this complaint. It is time to go out from this place. I do not sleep, though I am in my lying down. To be parted from my dear children, it is that is tormenting my heart. It is a bad net I put over you, bringing Aoife, daughter of Eliel of Aaron, to the house. I would never have followed that advice if I had known what it would bring upon me. O Fionnuala and comely Con, O Fiacre of the beautiful arms, it is not ready I am to go away from you, from the border of the harbour where you are. Then Lear went on to the palace of Baobjarig, and there was a welcome before him there, and he got a reproach from Baobjarig for not bringing his children along with him. "My grief," said Lear, "it is not I that would not bring my children along with me. It was Aoife there beyond, your own foster child, and the sister of their mother, that put them in the shape of 4 white swans on Loch Jarrah, in the sight of the whole of the men of Ireland. But they have their sense with them yet, and their reason, and their voice, and they're Irish." Baobjarig gave a great start when he heard that, and he knew what Lear said was true, and he gave a very sharp reproach to Aoife, and he said, "This treachery will be worse for yourself in the end, Aoife, than to the children of Lear. And what shape would you yourself think worst of being in?" he said. "I would think worst of being a witch of the air," she said. "It is into that shape I will put you now," said Baob. And with that he struck her with a druid wand, and she was turned into a witch of the air there and then, and she went away on the wind in that shape, and she is in it yet, and will be in it for the end of life and time. As to Baobjarig and the Tuatha De Danann, they came to the shore of Loch Jarrah, and they made their camp there, to be listening to the music of the swans. And the sons of the Gael used to be coming no less than the men of Jah to hear them from every part of Ireland, for there never was any music or any delight heard in Ireland compared with that music of the swans. And they used to be telling stories, and to be talking with the men of Ireland every day, and with their teachers, and their fellow pupils, and their friends. And every night they used to sing very sweet music of the Sidhe, and everyone that heard that music would sleep sound and quiet, whatever trouble or long sickness might be on him. For everyone that heard the music of the birds, it is happy and contented he would be after it. These 2 gatherings now of the Tuatha De Danann and the sons of the Gael stopped there round Loch Jarrah through the length of 300 years. And it is then Fionnuala said to her brothers, "Do you know," she said, "we have spent all we have to spend of our time here, but this one night only." And there was great sorrow on the sons of Lear when they heard that, for they thought it the same as to be living people again, to be talking with their friends and their companions on Loch Jarrah, in comparison with going on the cold, fretful sea of the Moyle in the north. And they came early on the morrow to speak with their father and with their foster father, and they bade them farewell. And Fionnuala made this complaint: "Farewell to you, Baobjarig, the man with whom all knowledge is in pledge, and farewell to our father along with you, Lear of the Hill of the White Field. The time is come, as I think, for us to part from you, O pleasant company. My grief, it is not on a visit we are going to you. From this day out, O friends of our heart, our comrades, it is on the tormented course of the Moyle we will be, without the voice of any person near us. 300 years there, and 300 years in the bay of the men of Dumnan. It is a pity for the 4 comely children of Lear, the salt waves of the sea, to be their covering by night. O 3 brothers, with the ruddy faces gone from you, let them all leave the lake now, the great troop that loved us. It is sorrowful our parting is." After that complaint, they took to flight, lightly, airily, till they came to Shrutnamuila, between Ireland and Alban, and that was a grief to the men of Ireland. And they gave out an order no swan was to be killed from that out, whatever chance there might be of killing one, all through Ireland. It was a bad dwelling place for the children of Lear, they to be on Shrutnamuila. When they saw the wide coast about them, they were filled with cold and with sorrow, and they thought nothing of all they had gone through before, in comparison to what they were going through on that sea. Now one night, while they were there, a great storm came upon them, and it is what Fionnuala said. "My dear brothers," she said, "it is a pity for us not to be making ready for this night, for it is certain the storm will separate us from one another. And let us, she said, settle on some place where we can meet afterwards, if we are driven from one another in the night. Let us settle, said the others, to meet one another at Carrignaron, the rock of the seals, for we all have knowledge of it. And when midnight came, the wind came on them with it, and the noise of the waves increased, and the lightning was flashing, and a rough storm came sweeping down, the way the children of Lear were scattered over the great sea, and the wideness of it set them astray, so that no one of them could know which way the others went. But after that storm, a great quiet came on the sea, and Fionnuala was alone on Shrutnamuila. And when she took notice that her brothers were wanting, she was lamenting after them greatly, and she made this complaint. It is a pity for me to be alive in the state I am. It is frozen to my sides, my wings are. It is little that the wind has not broken my heart and my body with the loss of A. To be 300 years on Loch Dorbruch without going into my own shape, it is worse to me the time I am on Shrutnamuila. The three I loved, the three I loved, that slept under the shelter of my feathers, till the dead come back to the living I will see them no more forever. It is a pity I to stay after Fiacre, and after A, and after Cumley Con, and with no account of them. My grief I to be here to face every hardship this night. She stopped all night there upon the rock of the seals until the rising of the sun, looking out over the sea on every side, till at last she saw Con coming to her, his feathers wet through, and his head hanging, and her heart gave him a great welcome. And then Fiacre came, wet and perished and worn out, and he could not say a word they could understand, with the dint of the cold and the hardship he had gone through. And Fionnuala put him under her wings, and she said, "We would be well off now if A would but come to us." It was not long after that they saw A coming, his head dry and his feathers beautiful, and Fionnuala gave him a great welcome, and she put him in under the feathers of her breast, and Fiacre under her right wing, and Con under her left wing, the way she could put her feathers over them all. And my brothers, she said, this was a bad night to us, and it is many of its like are before us from this out. They stayed there a long time after that, suffering cold and misery on the Moyle, till at last a night came on them they had never known the like of before, for frost and snow and wind and cold. They were crying and lamenting the hardship of their life, and the cold of the night, and the greatness of the snow, and the hardness of the wind. And after they had suffered cold to the end of a year, a worse night again came on them, in the middle of winter. And they were on Carrignaron, and the water froze about them, and as they rested on the rock, their feet and their wings and their feathers froze to the rock, the way they were not able to move from it. And they made such a hard struggle to get away, that they left the skin of their feet, and their feathers, and the tops of their wings on the rock after them. "My grief, children of Lear," said Fionnuala, "it is bad our state is now, for we cannot bear the salt water to touch us, and there are bonds on us not to leave it. And if the salt water goes into our sores," she said, "we will get our death." And she made this complaint. "It is keening we are tonight, without feathers to cover our bodies. It is cold the rough, uneven rocks are under our bare feet. It is bad our stepmother was to us the time she played enchantments on us, sending us out like swans upon the sea. Our washing place is on the ridge of the bay, in the foam of flying mains of the sea. Our share of the ale feast is the salt water of the blue tide. 1 daughter and 3 sons. It is in the clefts of the rocks we are. It is on the hard rocks we are. It is a pity the way we are." However, they came on to the course of the Moyle again, and the salt water was sharp and rough and bitter to them, but if it was itself, they were not able to avoid it, or to get shelter from it. They were there by the shore, under that hardship, till such time as their feathers grew again, and their wings, and till their sores were entirely healed. And then they used to go every day to the shore of Ireland or of Alban, but they had to come back to Shrutnamuila every night. Now they came one day to the mouth of the Banna, to the north of Ireland, and they saw a troop of riders, beautiful, of the one colour, with well-trained, pure white horses under them, and they travelling the road straight from the south-west. "Do you know who those riders are, sons of Lir?" said Fionnuala. "We do not," they said, "but it is likely they might be some troop of the sons of the Gael, or of the Tuatha De Danann." They moved over closer to the shore then, that they might know who they were, and when the riders saw them, they came to meet them, until they were able to hold talk together. And the chief men among them were two sons of Baab Jarrig, Achisach of the quick wits, and Fergus Fichilach of the chess, and a third part of the riders of the Sidhe along with them. And it was for the swans they had been looking for a long while before that, and when they came together they wished one another a kind and loving welcome. And the children of Lir asked for news of all the men of Jah, and above all of Lir and Baab Jarrig and their people. "They are well, and they are in the one place together," said they, "in your father's house at Shi Fionnachi, using the feast of age pleasantly and happily, and with no uneasiness on them, only for being without yourselves, and without knowledge of what happened to you from the day you left Loch Jarbrach." "That has not been the way with us," said Fionnuala, "for we have gone through great hardship and uneasiness and misery on the tides of the sea until this day." And she made this complaint: "There is a delight tonight with the household of Lir, plenty of ale with them, and of wine, although it is in a cold dwelling place this night are the 4 children of the king. It is without a spot our bedclothes are, our bodies covered over with curved feathers, but it is often we were dressed in purple, and we drinking pleasant mead. It is what our food is, and our drink, the white sand and the bitter water of the sea. It is often we drank mead of hazelnuts from round 4-lipped drinking cups. It is what our beds are, bare rocks out of the power of the waves. It is often they used to be spread out for us, beds of the breast feathers of birds. Though it is our work now to be swimming through the frost and through the noise of the waves, it is often a company of the sons of kings were riding after us to the hill of Baab. It is what wasted my strength to be going and coming over the current of the Muil the way I never was used to, and never to be in the sunshine and the soft grass. Fiacre's bread and Con's bed is to come under the cover of my wings on the sea. Ea has his place under the feathers of my breast, the 4 of us side by side. The teaching of Manannán without deceit, the talk of Baab Jarrig on the pleasant ridge, the voice of Angus, his sweet kisses, it is by their side I used to be without grief." After that the riders went on to Lir's house, and they told the chief men of the Tuatha De Danann all the birds had gone through, and the state they were in. "We have no power over them," the chief men said, "but we are glad they are living yet, for they will get help in the end of time." As to the children of Lir, they went back toward their old place on the Muil, and they stopped there till the time they had to spend in it was spent. And then Fionnuala said, "The time has come for us to leave this place, and it is to Domnann that we must go now," she said, "after our 300 years here. And indeed there will be no rest for us there, or any standing ground, or any shelter from the storms. But since it is time for us to go, let us set out on the cold wind, the way we will not go astray." So they set out in that way, and left Shrutnamuila behind them, and went to the point of Domnann, and there they stopped. And it is a life of misery and a cold life they led there. And one time the sea froze about them that they could not move at all, and the brothers were lamenting, and Fionnuala was comforting them, for she knew there would help come to them in the end. And they stayed at Irisdomnan till the time they had to spend there was spent. And then Fionnuala said, "The time has come for us to go back to She Fionnachi, where our father is with his household and with all our own people." "It pleases us well to hear that," they said. So they set out, flying through the air lightly till they came to She Fionnachi. And it is how they found the place empty before them, and nothing in it but green hillocks and thickets of nettles, without a house, without a fire, without a hearthstone. And the four pressed close to one another then, and they gave out 3 sorrowful cries, and Fionnuala made this complaint: "It is a wonder to me this place is, and it without a house, without a dwelling place. To see it the way it is now, ochone, it is bitterness to my heart. Without dogs, without hounds for hunting, without women, without great kings. We never knew it to be like this when our father was in it. Without horns, without cups, without drinking in the lighted house, without young men, without riders. The way it is tonight is a foretelling of sorrow. The people of the place to be as they are now, ochone, it is grief to my heart. It is plain to my mind tonight, the lord of the house is not living. Och, the house where we used to see music and playing and the gathering of people, I think it a great change to see it lonely the way it is tonight. The greatness of the hardships we have gone through, going from one wave to another of the sea, we never heard the like of them coming on any other person. It is seldom this place had its part with grass and bushes. The man is not living that would know us. It would be a wonder to him to see us here." However, the children of Lear stopped that night in their father's place and their grandfather's, where they had been reared, and they were singing very sweet music of the She. And they rose up early on the morning of the morrow, and went to Inishglura, and all the birds of the country gathered near them on Loch Nanain, the lake of the birds. And they used to go out to feed every day to the far parts of the country, to Inishgeach and Achill, and the place Don, son of Milled, and his people that were drowned were buried, and to all the western islands of Connacht, and they used to go back to Inishglura every night. It was about this time it happened them to meet with a young man of good race, and his name was Ibrich, and he often took notice of the birds, and their singing was sweet to him, and he loved them greatly, and they loved him. And it is this young man that told the whole story of all that had happened to them, and put it in order. And the story he told of what happened to them in the end is this. It was after the faith of Christ and Blessed Patrick came into Ireland that St. Macraevóg came to Inishglura. And the first night he came to the island, the children of Lear heard the voice of his bell ringing near them, and the brothers started up with fright when they heard it. "We do not know," they said, "what is that weak, unpleasing voice we hear?" "That is the voice of the bell of Macraevóg," said Fionnuala. "And it is through that bell," she said, "you will be set free from pain and from misery." They listened to that music of the bell till the matins were done, and then they began to sing the low, sweet music of the She. And Macraevóg was listening to them, and he prayed to God to show him who was singing that music, and it was showed to him that the children of Lear were singing it. And on the morning of the morrow, he went forward to the lake of the birds, and he saw the swans before him on the lake, and he went down to them at the brink of the shore. "Are you the children of Lear?" he said. "We are indeed," said they. "I give thanks to God for that," said he, "for it is for your sakes I am come to this island beyond any other island. "And let you come to land now," he said, "and give your trust to me, that you may do good deeds and part from your sins." They came to the land after that, and they put their trust in MacQuavogue, and he brought them to his own dwelling place, and they used to be hearing mass with him. And he got a good smith, and bade him make chains of bright silver for them, and he put a chain between Ea and Fionnuala, and a chain between Con and Fiacre, and the four of them were raising his heart and gladdening his mind, and no danger and no distress that was on the swans before put any trouble on them now. Now the king of Connacht at the time was Largnan, son of Colman, son of Coch, and Joch, daughter of Fingon, was his wife. And that was the coming together of the man from the north and the woman from the south that Aoife had spoken of. And the woman heard talk of the birds, and a great desire came on her to get them, and he bade Largnan to bring them to her, and he said he would ask them of MacQuavogue. And she gave her word she would not stop another night with him, unless he would bring them to her. And she set out from the house there and then, and Largnan sent messengers after her, to bring her back, and they did not overtake her till she was at Kildoon. She went back home with them then, and Largnan sent messages to ask the birds of MacQuavogue, and he did not get them. There was great anger on Largnan then, and he went himself to the place MacQuavogue was, and he asked, was it true that he had refused them the birds? "It is true indeed," said he. At that Largnan rose up, and he took hold of the swans, and pulled them off the altar, 2 birds in each hand, to bring them away to Joch. But no sooner had he laid his hand on them, than their bird skins fell off, and what was in their place were 3 lean, withered old men, and a thin, withered old woman, without blood or flesh. And Largnan gave a great start at that, and he went out from the place. It is then Fionnuala said to MacQuavogue, "Come and baptize us now, for it is short till our death comes, and it is certain you do not think worse of parting with us than we do of parting with you. And make our grave afterwards," she said, "and lay Con at my right side, and Fiacre on my left side, and Ea before my face, between my 2 arms. And pray to the God of heaven," she said, "that you may be able to baptize us." The children of Lear were baptized then, and they died and were buried as Fionnuala had desired. Fiacre and Con, one at each side of her, and Ea before her face. And a stone was put over them, and their names were written in Ogham, and they were keened there, and heaven was gained for their souls. And that is the fate of the children of Lear so far. End of The Fate of the Children of Lear by Augusta Gregory.